Who gon' slide? Who gon' slide? Who gon' slay? Who gon' slay? Bitch, I'm looking for you, keep them bowlers pay. I up that vibe, up that vibe. Where you at? Where you at? I'm a 7-figure player, chasing race, yeah. I got the pistol grip and stick 'em up, it's time to end this living, Chicken bread, my mission, fill it up, my money different. Probably spend your back on steak and stripping, money slippers, money stretching, flipping, bitch, I'm sick, no penicillin. Yeah, $1,000 jeans, true religion, not my thing. Private client living, private driver driving me. Puffin' smoke until I fly, you think I'm private flying green. Up in London, Paris, Amsterdam, no can, I'm overseas. Who gon' slide? Who gon' slide? Who gon' slay? Who gon' slay? Bitch, I'm looking for you, keep them bowlers pay. I up that vibe, up that vibe. Where you at? Where you at? I'm a 7-figure player, chase a race.
7-figure trigger, ain't nothing that less than commas that beyond repair. Big juice on the rampage for them dollars, yeah. Let them stare, got my balaclava, shoot the witness up. Paid off all the judges like Gotti, I got the system set. Rolled up in the leg lock, this 40 make his head pop. Big shake while on the mission, stack the bread until that shit is. We far from holy, one and only one I slide for. Got plenty I would die for, they'll send you to the good side. Where you at? Where you was? Bitch, I be out for them drugs. Got some homies call me Gold, I got some others call me
race, chase a race.
Hey Hitler, you probably didn't even hate the Jews. That was just the meth making you crazy, dog.
How much does it cost for fascism? How much do the taxpayers have to pay for a fascist country?
Stop being cowards, because the collective cowardice of you and people like you is what has led to the circumstances of today. You can stop letting the enemy dictate the terms of your struggle. They're evil. They are actively doing evil. So treat them like the evil that they are.
The time to start is now, right? The time to plant a tree is 10 years ago, and the second best time is now. Strikes are the most effective way to stop profits, get demand, and force policy changes. If you can shut down profit, you can make any politician do anything.
I don't want to be part of the system as it works.
It's time to stop pretending otherwise. It's time to be ruthless, and time to afford them the same amount of grace that they give to their Palestinian victims, because they are only going to get more and more ruthless with their victims if you don't.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. Let me get my mouse plugged in here. Welcome to the stream. We're going to start off with headlines and then we'll go into more specific stories. Mic check. Mic check. Okay, display capture. It's just called stream. Got it. No. Alright, we'll have Democracy Now! Cover the headlines and then, yeah. We'll switch over to the Electronic Intifada. Catch last week's headlines. Oh boy. The fucking homepage is always trash. Bro. It's like status quo. I feel like you can make a better thumbnail than this. Because we barely get a sliver of the actual picture. And instead we get a Luigi Mangione smolder and a what looks like an AI generated version of Elon Musk. For a conversation about the end of capitalism or people rising up against capitalism, I don't think you need a fucking clickbait thumbnail to sell that. And I love it how YouTube keeps on recommending me videos that I scroll right past. Like, every time I look away, they're sliding a video closer to my desk or something. Like, it's crazy. Shut up.
Welcome to
Now, why would it do that? Now, why would it play on the TV but not on my freaking headphones? There we go.
Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman in San Francisco. Iran's once again shut down the Strait of Hormuz just one day after reopening the vital shipping lane. It comes as the U.S. Navy intercepted and seized an Iranian-flagged cargo ship Sunday in the Sea of Oman. Iran said the seizure violated the ceasefire reached earlier this month. Despite the escalation, President Trump announced a U.S. delegation's heading to Pakistan for a new round of peace talks, repeating his claim that a deal is very close. But Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson said Monday Tehran has no plans to participate. Speaking to Fox News Sunday, President Trump warned, quote, if Iran does not sign this deal, the whole country is getting blown up. This is Mohammad Reza Naqvi.
Oh, really? Oh, the whole country is getting blown up. Interesting. Sounds like a real peace agreement.
Brigadier General in the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps.
Victory will certainly be ours. We hold the upper hand. Even if you look at the battlefield through ordinary calculations, victory is ours and we have the advantage. They've already struck whatever they could. They did whatever they were able to do. They say they hit 33,000 targets. They keep inventing numbers for themselves. They say they sank all our forces. Well, if you sank all our naval forces, then why did you not dare come and reopen the strait?
Get fucked.
Killed and 3 others wounded after a UN patrol came under fire Saturday. French President Emmanuel Macron blamed the attack on Hezbollah, while the group denied responsibility. Israel has been known to target humanitarian aid convoys. The incident comes just days after Israel and Lebanon announced a 10-day ceasefire brokered by the United States. On Sunday, the Israeli military published for the first time a map of its new deployment line inside southern Lebanon, which runs 5 to 10 kilometers deep into Lebanese territory.
Fucking insane.
Dozens of villages under Israeli occupation. Israel's calling it a buffer zone. Meanwhile, an image went viral on social media showing an Israeli soldier using a jackhammer to smash a statue of Jesus on a cross in occupied southern Lebanon, drawing widespread condemnation. Israel's army says it's investigating the soldier. It comes as tens of thousands of displaced Lebanese rush back to their villages inside
I don't even blink when I see shit like that.
South Lebanon to destroyed homes and scenes of devastation. This is Jamila Bassem, who was displaced from Beirut's southern...
Because it's exactly on brand for them.
We will rebuild with our own hands. We're not afraid. Even if it takes us 10 years to repair, it doesn't matter to me. My house in the village is also gone, but we will repair it too, and it will come back even better than it was. What matters is that we live with pride and dignity, not to be ruled by anyone.
Nice.
Authorities are investigating whether a series of
Queen right there.
recent arson attacks on Jewish sites in London are linked to
Oh, really?
what they described as Iranian proxies.
Oh, are they?
17 and 19-year-old were arrested in connection with an arson attack on a synagogue in northwest London.
I'm done with Democracy Now! No more Democracy Now! We're not going to talk about Israel stealing land from Lebanon and then jump to how Iranian proxies are causing arson attacks in London. Shut the fuck up. Who cares? A greater Israel is being established, and you're talking about broken windows in a Jewish community. Talking about Iranian proxies. Done with Democracy Now! Done with it. You are a Zionist entity, essentially. Fuck. Unbelievable. focusing on dissenting Israeli voices. The show highlights voices of Israeli activists and former soldiers who oppose the state's policies. Yeah, but that's a problem. We don't give a fuck about their opinion. Israeli activists can leave Israel. Nazi activists oppose Nazism? Oh, really? And you're going to cover that type of shit in the same breath as describing a greater Israel in Lebanon, in Palestine, across the Middle East? Shameful. Pathetic. Investigation of pro-Israel lobbying. It has aired reports on groups like Canary Mission, which describes itself as shadowy pro-Israel group that hacks and dossiers critics of Israel. Norm Finkelstein was banned from Democracy Now! For the innocuous joke, "What pronouns did Michael Jackson use?" Answer, he. Dude, no one is talking about how Democracy Now! Is just basically a Zionist news channel. Like, if you want to be an Israeli anti-Zionist, which is insane, why you would identify as Israeli and anti-Zionist, it's one and the same. If you are an Israeli citizen, you are participating in a settler colonial project. You are a fucking Nazi. You are a Zionist. Even if you were born on their soil, it's your duty to leave. It's your duty to get the fuck out of Israel. Not stay there and try to reform it. It's not going to happen. Compromised. Democracy Now! Compromised. Fucking ridiculous. I cannot believe it, dude. Let's just go ahead and unfollow. Unsubscribe. We're done. I don't even want that shit on my timeline. How about that? Let's go. Let's see if we still get recommended. Yep, we still do. Don't recommend channel. Boom. Done. Refresh. Let's see what news it gives us now. Status coup. And Navarra. What if we don't recommend status coup? Then what happens? And Navarra Media is on watch as well. They're glazing Zoran Mamdani for all of the work he's been doing. Oh, I don't even get a news tab anymore. Oh shit, YouTube gave up. They're like, oh, I guess he's not watching the news anymore. News. How about that? NBC, Fox, ABC, trash. CNN, trash, trash, trash. Still doesn't give me a news tab. Fuck, man, I'm stun locked. The Electronic Intifada. That's who we got. We got Drop Site. We got, I guess we got Navarra. Oh yeah, there was a gunman in Louisiana that killed 8 children. This shit was crazy. One of the kids was trying to escape out a window and they were found dead on the roof. It's crazy, dude. He started at one house and then went to another house. And then was killed in a standoff with police. It's fucking insane, man. Oh, they have a whole tab for Jmail. If you haven't checked out Jmail, definitely do that. It's all of the Jeffrey Epstein emails organized in a email inbox type simulation. Podcasts? With Crying Grim. Let's skip past this. Let's get to oh, you can share from a specific timestamp. That's kind of cool. But let's just watch it on YouTube. I'm sorry. Exclusive Hezbollah MP blasts Lebanese government for talks with Israel. Wow. Dude. You don't negotiate with Israel, dude. Ugh.
When the so-called 2-week ceasefire went into effect on April 7th, one of the core requirements put forward by the Iranian side was that any ceasefire deal signed...
The only thing to come out of talks with Israel and Lebanon are secessions of land. You're gonna have pogroms and you're gonna have lynchings in this so-called buffer zone.
Between the United States and Iran had to apply to what Iran called all of the fronts of resistance. And in fact, when the mediating country's top official, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, publicly announced the deal, he actually specifically said that a ceasefire must apply to Lebanon, where Hezbollah has been fighting off an Israeli ground invasion, as well as massive Israeli bombing. Within 24 hours of this so-called 2-week ceasefire being signed that was supposed to apply to Lebanon, Israeli forces heavily bombed Lebanon, killing more than 200 people just in the initial 24 hours after that so-called deal was signed. Now,
and they're going to try to negotiate with them. Iran calls the shots is the name of the stream. Nice. Get chat out of here. Who the fuck cares about chat? On a fucking VOD. Fuck out of here, man. It's not even loading. It's not even loading, bro! God, YouTube is so fucking trash. Ugh! Thank you. Get the fuck out of here.
But first, let's take a look at the news. Here's a brief summary of some of the latest developments this week in Palestine and Lebanon. As Israel carried out massive strikes on Lebanon Wednesday, killing nearly 300 people in a massive bombing spree in Beirut and the south, Israeli drones continued to target and attack Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Just hours ago, a third grader, Ritaj Abdul Rauf Rihan, was shot and killed by Israeli gunfire inside her classroom in northern Gaza, according to the Palestinian Education Ministry and local news sources. Ritaj was sitting at her desk at Abu Ubaidah bin al-Jarrah school when she was shot in front of her classmates, causing severe psychological trauma among the students, and with the ministry describing the killing as a brutal and horrific crime. On Wednesday, Israel killed journalist Mohammed Washa while he was driving in his car west of Gaza City, setting the entire vehicle ablaze. Washa was a reporter with Al Jazeera.
You've seen this. 11 days ago. Where's the one from Thursday? Were they off last week? No.
Let's take a look at the news. Here's a brief summary of some of the latest developments this week in Palestine and Lebanon. In Gaza, 8 Palestinians were killed and nearly 30 were wounded in Israeli attacks over a 24-hour period between Tuesday and Wednesday, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health. On Tuesday night, at least 5 Palestinians were killed in an Israeli strike on the Beach refugee camp in Gaza City. The Electronic Intifada's contributor, photojournalist Mohammed Assad, posted this report to his social media from the funeral march in the beach camp on Wednesday.
Really a ceasefire agreement in Gaza. There is a false image among the people around the world that ceasefire is in place in Gaza, but in reality, what's happening only reduction of the intensity of the violence. Instead of killing 100 of 200 Palestinians in the day, Israeli forces are now killing between 5 and 10 Palestinians daily. The heartbreaking scenes and continuous funerals are happening every day. Children are being killed, women are being killed, and young are being killed. Mothers crying over their children and loved ones, and not an exception. It is a daily reality. This is also happening among the recent tensions in the Middle East, particularly related to the Iran front. As the global attention shifts to other regions, Israeli forces are taking advantage of this and continue to carry out these violations on a daily basis.
That was Mohammed Assad in Gaza. Just hours before Tuesday's attack on the beach refugee camp, Israel carried out a strike on a vehicle in Gaza City, killing a police officer and 3 bystanders, one of whom was a 3-year-old boy, Yahya al-Malahi. Reporter side Hezbollah captured footage of Yahya's father, Mukhlis al-Malahi, in agonizing shock and grief, cradling the body of his toddler, whose head is split in half, with blood all over both of their clothes. He told reporters that they were leaving a relative's wedding when an Israeli plane attacked the police car. The boy's cousin told Reuters, quote, "What is his fault? What is his crime? He should be wearing a wedding suit at his cousin's today, but instead he wore a shroud stained with blood." Israeli fire also killed a 14-year-old child, Ahmed Halawa, near Jabalia in the north, according to health ministry officials. On Monday, April 13th, Israeli forces bombed a cafe in Gaza City, targeting Palestinians who were sitting inside. Reporter Mahmoud Shalha covered the scene as people pulled bodies from the rubble by hand. In northern Gaza, 10-year-old Abdullah Dawas was shot in the head and killed by an Israeli quadcopter drone on April 11th, according to reporter Maha Husseini. Husseini said that at least 8 Palestinians had been killed in a series of Israeli attacks across Gaza on Sunday. On April 10th, at least 6 Palestinians were killed in an Israeli airstrike on the Burej refugee camp in central Gaza. The Gaza government media office stated on Tuesday that in the 6 months since the so-called ceasefire was declared, Israel has killed more than 750 Palestinians, injured 2,100, and committed approximately 2,400 violations. Of those violations, Israel has committed more than 1,100 incidents of shelling and targeted strikes, hundreds of incidents involving the demolition of homes and other buildings, and nearly 100 incursions into residential neighborhoods and areas. Meanwhile, Israel continues to use food, medicine, medical supplies, and fuel as weapons, with its draconian blockade of humanitarian aid firmly in place. The Gaza government media office affirmed this week that Gaza is, quote, being subjected to a systematic, deliberate, and escalating process of engineered starvation perpetrated by the Israeli occupation. This is being executed through the complete control of the flow of basic commodities, foremost among them flour and bread, thereby posing a direct threat to the food security of the people in the Gaza Strip. Gaza requires around 450 tons of flour per day, the office stated, but only about 200 tons are currently available, quote, creating a severe daily deficit.
Hey, Pillow.
Despite the ceasefire agreement, which requires 600 aid trucks per day, only around 200 have been allowed in on average, leaving shelter supplies, medical aid, and food items almost non-existent, reports Maha Husseini in Middle East Eye. This comes on the heels of a claim made by Nikolai Mladenov, envoy to Donald Trump's Board of Peace, that 602 trucks entered Gaza on April 9th, quote, with essential supplies for families who have waited too long. Mladenov's statement, the Gaza media office said, quote, lacks accuracy and credibility, and it contradicts documented facts on the ground. Actual data for April 9th, 2026 confirms the entry of only 207.
Like, if you're a Palestinian and you've been waiting this long for any kind of aid, how do you even say thank you when you get it? It's like, where was this when my neighbors were dying around me, you know?
Trucks, 79 of which were aid trucks. This falls far short of the required level of humanitarian response and in no way reflects expanded access, as was alleged, particularly given that the rate of compliance with truck entry protocols since the commencement of the ceasefire has not exceeded 38% of the agreed-upon target.
Are you ready?
The noted that Mladenov's deliberate misinformation, quote,
Am I
raises
ready?
a fundamental question. Where is the so-called Board of Peace amidst the Israeli occupation's daily violations of the agreement?
I'm down.
Why does it remain silent? And furthermore, where does it stand regarding the public pledges it made before the international community to protect the Gaza Strip in light of a catastrophic and worsening humanitarian reality? Medical Aid for Palestinians, a British charity, this week warned of the ongoing shortages of basic medications and medical supplies across Gaza. More than 53% of essential medicines are at zero stock, medical workers say, including 64% of cancer medications. Around 70% of medical laboratories have stopped functioning because of the lack of supplies, and 90 hospital generators are out of service due to spare parts and oil being blocked by Israel. Medical Aid for Palestinians says that approximately half of all hospitals remain non-functional, and there are still no fully functional hospitals in Gaza at all. MAP says that their teams, quote, can't find even the essential medicines they need. That says everything about how aid is coming in. Euromed
Like, they're just lying. Like, how, it would literally be easier to just let the aid trucks through than to just turn around and lie about it and try to do a whole psyop. Like, what the fuck?
Human Rights Monitor released a comprehensive report this week on Israel's de facto state policy of sexual violence against Palestinians.
A trigger warning, we're going to be also talking about how they use dogs as well for this kind of torture.
In Israeli prisons and detention centers. The report, titled Another Genocide Behind Walls, documents widespread patterns of sexual violence, including rape, against detainees from the Gaza Strip, describing it as a tool of destruction aimed at breaking individual and collective will and inflicting severe physical and psychological harm. And just a note to our listeners and viewers, the following excerpts from the report contain descriptions of sexual violence. The report cites direct sexual assault, assault with objects, and torture targeting the genitals, as well as organized practices such as filming and the presence of multiple security personnel during assaults, which reinforces evidence of the institutional and systematic nature of these crimes. The report, Euromed adds, quote, relied primarily on live testimonies from Palestinian former detainees from the Gaza Strip who were released by Israeli forces in recent weeks and months, and who reported being subjected to various forms of systematic sexual violence. Testimonies documented by the group, quote,
like, if this is what the men are going through, I would hate to see what the women are going through. Like, can you even imagine?
Confirm that forcing prisoners and detainees to witness sexual violence against others in Israeli detention centers was a frequent and deliberate practice. This formed part of psychological abuse and complex torture designed to create a collective impact, turn the victim's body into a tool for terrorizing detainees, break their will, and produce collective helplessness. In this context, rape and sexual assault were not only committed in secret, but in documented cases, were staged as a public spectacle in courtyards and shared cells. Detainees were forced to line up or remain within direct view while others were assaulted, making the...
Bro, so she was assaulted and then they continued to traumatize her by showing them pictures. Oh my god, dude. Jovan Bradley is rating with a party of 172. Holy shit. Welcome to the stream. Here we do gaming on my channel, and we do, oh my goodness. Hi. Hey. Hello. Free Palestine. What's up? Howdy. Jovan Raid. What's going on? We're checking out the best news outlet on the internet right now. It is called the Electronic Intifada. If you are familiar with the Electronic Intifada, put a W in the chat. 123 viewers. Holy shit. I've never had anything like this before. I think the most viewers I've ever had is like 70 something, and it was because I was on the homepage for a little bit. I think. I don't even know. Woo! John Elmer analysis. Yes, we get a week's worth of Palestine news in Nora Barrows Freeman's she does a news roundup, and then we get to John Elmer's resistance report. Dude, fuck ICE. Everybody behave. You better betray me well. Raid, High Person, Onion, purchase of InfoWars. Oh yeah, they did do that, didn't they? M, opposite of W, because I've never heard of this. Ah. Well, the Electronic Intifada, independent, that they have contributors from Al Jazeera all across the Middle East. And yeah, we check out that and drop site news, and basically we're information gathering. We are resource gathering. I'm not a journalist. I'm just some guy on the internet. And yeah, I got sober about 2 years ago from alcohol, and then the genocide in Gaza happened, and I don't know, I like came online as a different person, and then all of a sudden we were in a whole different world. I couldn't believe it. And I've been doing these streams ever since, and I've been trying to do them every weekday. Whoop. but at least once a week, because the Electronic Intifada streams every Thursday, and every Thursday we get a week's worth of Gaza news. It's intense. So here we go. We're going to buckle in and keep going. But so far it's been what a moment to make a change. Wild. Yeah. Yeah. At a time when you're supposed to be focusing on yourself, being, selfish in your recovery is what people say, that you want to kind of tune the rest of the world out and focus on yourself, but you can't. I don't know. Joldoc's EXE is cereal soup. I think someone tried to argue one time that oatmeal was soup, and I don't know. I don't think so. No. It's at some point you have to consider porridge. You have to consider granola in different consistencies. Holy fucking shit. Depends on how much water you add. Magma Laga knows what's up.
Component of the crime, rather than a mere circumstance. This practice consisted of repeated collective humiliation rituals designed to dehumanize detainees in front of each other. Techniques included collective forced nudity, crowding detainees naked.
Hey, Graham Plattner was a guard at fucking shit, what is it called? Abu Ghraib. He was literally a fucking... He mowed down people trying to save their comrades from this, and it's happening again. So whenever you, like in Sdei Teiman, the prison in Israel, it's a torture camp, and will soon be an extermination camp because they've authorized themselves to do executions now. So whenever you see some horse shit that they're pulling at Sdei Teiman, you can just kind of imagine Graham Plattner defending that type of behavior. And everybody should shake off everyone who claims to be progressive endorsing this motherfucker. Bullshit? What do you mean bullshit? Graham Plattner, that's 100% true.
Using obscenities and breaching social norms, such as stripping men in front of women and children, or threatening women with rape while their husbands watched. The goal was to break family bonds and create a sense of helplessness, impacting both the victims and the witnesses. We'll have much more on the details of Euromed Human Rights Monitor's report on Israel's system.
Are you saying bullshit about the soup?
Use of sexual violence and torture coming up in the recent week.
Them declaring themselves to allow Palestinians, yeah, allow bullshit that they can do that. And they're authorizing themselves to take Lebanese land as well.
In the following weeks. Turning to the occupied West Bank, Israeli forces fired tear gas at a group of children trying to get to their school in Masafer south of Al-Khalil on April 13th. Mohammed Horeini, a resident of Masafer and an activist, recorded a rampage by Jewish Israeli settlers.
We just saw a father cradling his child's corpse with his head split open, and I was wondering, what did this child do? He asked, what did this child do, and we can even ask that about this. What did these children do?
Into his village of Tueni on April 13th.
Just going to school.
He said, settlers stormed lands in my village, Tueni.
This is going to happen in Lebanon.
Bringing their sheep onto our property under the full view of the Israeli army and police. Palestinians were forcibly driven off their own land, while settlers were allowed to roam freely without any restraint. As if this was not enough, they escalated the violence by firing tear gas and stun grenades directly at us. To make matters worse, one of the residents was arrested simply in response to the settlers' demands. This is not just harassment, it is a systematic policy of intimidation and dispossession carried out in broad daylight with complete impunity. That's from Mohammed Horeini in Masafer. Meanwhile, my colleague Tamara Nassar reports this week that Israel is establishing facts on the ground in the occupied West Bank faster than ever before. She writes that, quote, in March, Israel's so-called security cabinet covertly approved the establishment of 34 new settlements, not units, entire settlements in the West Bank. News of this decision only became public last week after being kept confidential by the cabinet when it was approved, reportedly in an effort to avoid backlash from the United States during negotiations for a ceasefire with Iran.
Trying to hide their hand as Trump fails at doing peace negotiations. It's so funny how quickly they sent J.D. Vance back, and he had to give that fucking walk of shame speech where he's just like, they didn't accept our terms. They said that, we didn't even mention Lebanon, and yeah. That wasn't going to go well.
This is Israel's largest ever colonial expansion, said Francesca Albanese, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Human Rights in the office.
Pillow, I think you'd be a better vice president. 100 bits? Oh my goodness. That's my first bits. First time I've ever gotten bits. Such a milestone. This is crazy. My Stream Elements app is going crazy. It was so pathetic by Vance, yeah. I wonder how his marriage is doing, just offhand.
By Palestinian territories on April 9th. This is the largest ethnic cleansing and land grab in Palestine since the Nakba. It's happened.
Holy shit, since the Nakba. Covertly approved the establishment of 34 new settlements. Not units, entire settlements in the West Bank.
Under our watch, she continued. Tamara notes that before the current government took power in 2022, there were 127 recognized Israeli settlements in the West Bank, according to the Israeli group Peace Now, which monitors...
You know who else I get my information from? Bad Empanada. I'm not gonna, he doesn't like when people react to his content, so I'm just gonna drop his shit here. Bad Empanada Live is probably gets more posts, but definitely worth checking out.
The newly approved 34 settlements would add to 68 that the government has already advanced since its formation, bringing the total number of settlements approved under this administration to 102, Peace Now added. This is roughly an 80% increase of all settlements in the West Bank advanced under this government alone. These developments are taking place against a backdrop of accelerating settler violence against Palestinians in the West Bank, Tamara writes. At least 37 Palestinians have been killed in the West Bank.
If you want a good documentary on the Nakba, check out Tantura. Already back up to 40k points, so I'll get you a raid again next month. Whoa! Yeah, join the Discord. We're in a whole community. We play games. We do all kinds of stuff. I think now, with all these people here, I want to do little bits of pieces of things that I want to show people, starting with this documentary trailer. I'll move there's a lot of captions in it, so I'm just gonna take my camera off for just a minute and play it in its entirety. Boom.
קוראים לי טדי קאץ, היו לי כמה אירועים מוחיים.
Oh shit. The captions. Let's do, okay, transform, stretch to screen, and captions off.
אני
Boom.
לא בטוח שאני זוכר את הכל. האירוע הראשון היה סביב הסיפור.
He's a historian covering what happened in Tantura. I'm in the butt crack of Texas, so I would love a community of fellow lefties to talk to. Wow. So happy to have you here. Please join the Discord. There's channels for sharing pretty much anything. So yeah, definitely check that out. Even if you just got pictures of your dog, I'd be down for that too.
He's the
אמרת לי דת.
השכחתי את הדברים.
אנחנו עם טנטיקס גמרנו.
לא דיברתי עם אף אחד על זה. מה, אני אספר לה שאני הייתי רוצח?
כאן הם אמרו את הדברים. אתה יכול לקחת את הקלטות, אבל תיזהר, כי ירדפו אותך כמו שרדפו אותי.
השתוללו בטנטורה, זה היה משהו נורא.
אלה הקברי האחים של הכפר הזה. יש בית קברות שם, נעשה שם חנייה.
הכניסו אותם לחבית, ויעלו עליהם בחבית, ואני זוכר את הדם בתוך החבית.
זה לא האופי שלנו.
אנחנו עם טהור.
לא היה טבח, זה לא נכון.
היה סיפורים.
Thank you, Pillow.
Ethnic cleansing.
I'm gonna grab some coffee.
Is exactly executed like that. There's no big program.
אתה רואה שבן-גוריון לגרש את האנשים משם.
היינו צוציקים, בני 18.
כבשנו טנטורה, תפסנו הרבה ערבים, אספנו אותם.
לקח פשוט מאוד ורצח אותם בתוך המכלאות.
כמה נהרגו?
איזה 270-80 אני קברתי אותם. לא היה ולא נברא.
بالصدفة أنا وقف من الطلع كل حياة أبوي وأخوي.
I don't believe witnesses.
תעלה פתוחה, מה שאתה אומר? זאת תעלה פתוחה.
את זה אני לא שמעתי. לאמת יש את הכוח שלה. צריך פה לשנות את המחשבה, להכיר בעובדה הזו שהייתה פה נכבה. המדינה נתנו תשווי.
כמובן שזה הרבה יותר קל להתעלם בכלל מכל העניין, ואז לא לכלכת את המצפון.
תמחוק את זה. אני לא רוצה לדבר על זה, וזהו. אבל זה היה, מה לעשות? זה היה.
Available now on video on demand.
Boom. This shit. Greatest documentary, and it's on YouTube. Let me see. Yeah, right here. Shit. Well, you might have to pay for it, but it's good shit. I kind of want to... Where can I watch this? I think they got the full upload, like, full documentary on... Oh, that's a different one. But yeah, here's a clip. Israeli soldiers confess to Tantura massacre. The people who committed these atrocities are alive today. They mentioned that some of them came from the death camps. The Alexandroni brigades, who first arrived in the northern fishing village of Tantura in Palestine. And it was that's what it used to look like. Now just one of these buildings still exists, and in its place of the village there is a museum, and the parking lot that they talked about in the documentary trailer. That parking lot is over a mass grave, and the museum just tells lies about what happened there. And the Alexandroni brigades, like I said, some of them came from the death camps. The Palestinians opened their homes to them, turned one of the living rooms of one of the houses into a dining hall, and they all ate together. And one day they just turned against them. The Alexandroni brigades drew everyone out, and separated the men from the women, and they committed the same atrocities that were done to them in the death camps. Like, what the fuck? One guy said that when he was there... No, I didn't tell my wife what I did there. Like, what? That I'm going to tell them that I was a fucking murderer? Like, oh, okay, but you'll say on camera?
לא.
This is a former soldier being confronted with what his brigade did and what he probably saw all those years ago. And his response is, no, 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 no. That's it. He was with me, but I didn't do it. I don't know what to say. I don't remember. Maybe I saw, but I don't remember. And it's interviews like that. And forensic analysis through satellite of the mass graves that were essentially created in secret. I was thinking about who else I should recommend while I got everyone here. And Good Politic guy, when I used to watch Kyle Kalinske before I realized he was a fucking racist, Good Politic guy covered, took over his show. And his name's Mac. He absolutely remembers. Yeah.
This has been a regime change, and perhaps most important.
Yeah. Fucking oldest liar. But yeah, Mac. And if he actually doesn't, that's 1,000 times worse, for sure. I think his heart's in the right place. He just hit 100K subs. I think he's alright. This guy's channel has been kind of blowing up. He's just a guy who talks about shipping. 1 million views in one day is crazy. I think he's kind of conservative coded, though. But he does have some factual analysis that he engages in. We've got 10 minutes of headlines left, and then we'll jump to John Elmer's resistance report. The catharsis of seeing a week's worth of tragedy and murder and fascism bookended with John Elmer's resistance report, it gives me hope. It gives me a lot of hope. So.
So far in 2026, at least 10 of them by settlers. Tamara adds that, quote, whether through de facto or de jure annexation, the Israeli objective has always been the same. The underlying logic of Zionism, as it is with any colonial movement, is the expansion of settlements and the displacement of the indigenous population to replace them with colonial settlers. Every Israeli front, whether in Gaza...
This is one of those docs where this guy looks gray and everything feels depressing after watching it, but it's necessary to see for sure. The comfort I get from it is like, I'm glad I know. And in case people didn't know, Joel is also a communist like Jovan. Yes. Yes. Communism is the only way forward. That's the tweet. It truly is. But yeah, like imagine your son telling or your daughter telling you something that was horrific that happened to them. You would be like, well, I'm glad I now live in a world where I know about it, you know? Like, I'm glad that this is not being held in a bushel. That this information that we're seeing right now for free on YouTube is not classified. That we're getting it in a timely manner. And I think you make a great point, Mischief. It's necessary. And the depression was already there, let's be real.
Gaza, the West Bank, or elsewhere, is ultimately rooted in that objective, Tamara writes. For much more, read Tamara Nassar's report, Israel's largest land grab since the Nakba, on electronicintifada.net. Turning to Lebanon, Israeli attacks across the country have killed more than 2,100 people and have injured approximately 7,000 since March 2nd. A week ago, on April 8th, as we reported, Israel hit Beirut in a barrage of strikes that killed more than 300 people within minutes. Speaking to Al Mayadeen, Dr. Ghassan Abu Sitta, who is currently working...
Yeah, they said it, like, I stopped watching Democracy Now! Today because right after they reported that 300 people were killed in a 24-hour time span in Lebanon, they switched right over to a Jewish community in London, like, saying that they've been a victim of a firebombing attack, like, organized by Iranian proxies? What are you talking about? 300 people were just killed in Lebanon, and you're talking about broken windows and shit. I'm done with Democracy Now! I'm sorry. Like, they do good resource gathering, I guess, but that's what I do. Like, I can assemble headlines. That's not hard to do. And it's also not hard to immediately talk about how Jewish communities are facing some kind of rise in anti-Semitism after we've got fucking news of 300 people being killed in Lebanon. What do you mean a so-called rise in anti-Semitism in the same breath? No more Democracy Now!
Working in the hospital at the American University of Beirut, said that Israel's attacks were deliberately designed to overwhelm the country's healthcare system and maximize deaths. The following is from Al Mayadeen's report. Quote, in a period of 10 minutes, over 1,400 people were wounded and 340 were killed, Abu Sitta said. The aim is to flood the system, to overwhelm it, and to ensure that as many of the wounded die. He said that the scale and speed of the strikes collapsed emergency response capacity from the outset, leaving ambulance services and hospitals unable to cope with the volume of casualties. Hospitals rapidly exhausted intensive care capacity, including pediatric units, while smaller facilities were forced to transfer patients under life-threatening delays. Quote, we ran out of intensive care beds. We ran out of pediatric intensive care capacity, he said. The smaller hospitals were overwhelmed, and the delays in transferring patients cost lives.
Yo, we're on YouTube as well. Thank you, Pillow. I've got a lot of gaming content, and you can watch previous VODs. I do individual uploads. No live streams, really. Just live streaming on Twitch. And later tonight, I'm going to be doing some co-op in Stardew Valley with a friend. So if you're into Stardew Valley, played that. And a bunch of other games. My mind is like swimming right now, dude.
That day was the first day that felt like a day in Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital, he said. Children came in with no names, no surviving families. Nobody knew who anybody was. The scenes, he added, triggered immediate psychological recall. You find yourself thinking, not this again. For more on the aftermath of the April 8th attacks and the current situation in Lebanon, our contributor Ruqayya Shamsuddin filed this report for the Electronic Intifada on Wednesday evening.
I'm Ruqayya Shamsuddin, reporting for the Electronic Intifada. It has been 1 week since what has come to be known as Black Wednesday, a devastating Israeli assault that in the span of roughly 10 minutes killed more than 300 people across Beirut and its southern suburbs. The coordinated wave of strikes carved through densely populated neighborhoods, marking one of the bloodiest days in Lebanon's recent history.
Just imagine if this happened in one of your own cities. Like, they're calling it Black Wednesday. What do you think the American response would be if, like, I don't know, Baltimore got hit with a drone strike and it killed 300 people. Wounded 1,400. Imagine.
As of this recording, dozens are still missing and believed to be trapped beneath the rubble, while at least 15 unidentified bodies remain in refrigerated units at Rafiq al-Hariri University Hospital in Beirut, a stark and ongoing testament to the scale of devastation. In the southern Lebanese city of Bint Jbein, Hezbollah resistance fighters continue to mount a fierce defense against ongoing Israeli attempts to seize the strategically significant location.
That is the first time I have heard the phrase Hezbollah resistance fighter. Maybe I've been living under a rock, but holy shit. New phrase just dropped. Damn. The Iranian resistance. Sheesh.
Engaging invading forces in sustained, close-range confrontations that have reportedly resulted.
I'll be back in a bit. Gotta help my brother. Keep you tabbed as always.
Near daily helicopter evacuations from the outskirts of the city.
Appreciate it.
Troops being transported north towards medical facilities across the border, including Rambam Medical Center in occupied Haifa. In other areas of South Lebanon, first responders continue to face Israeli airstrikes, including most recently in the town of Mayfaloon, where 3 paramedics, Fadel Sarhan, Mahdi Abu Zaid, and Ali Sabra, were killed after their ambulances were intentionally targeted by Israeli forces as they attempted to tend to a previous Israeli attack. Also,
God, look at that fucking crater.
This week, even as Israel continues to attack towns across southern Lebanon and kill dozens of Lebanese citizens.
I mean, it's the same footage looping, but it's like I'm seeing it for the first time every time. The melted paint is crazy.
These government representatives sat across from Israeli officials in Washington in what was presented as a peace initiative brokered by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The meeting brought together Lebanon's ambassador Nada Muawad and Israeli envoy Yechiel Leiter, marking a rare direct engagement, but one that unfolded under the shadow of ongoing bombardment.
Like, do we have to even say that the Lebanese blood is on the hands of Marco Rubio, is on the hands of J.D. Vance, Trump, his entire cabinet? All the people who could have done something to de-escalate Israel's, like, frothing rage at its neighbors. Who is that guy that kept stabbing everybody in the back in every peace negotiation? He literally was just another real estate guy that Trump added to his cabinet. Just some fucking guy. Steve Witkoff. That guy has everyone who died in the by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, all that blood's directly on his hands too.
The shared demands of the meeting reportedly centered on the disarmament of Hezbollah and the imposition of a new security reality in the south, effectively stripping Lebanon of its only meaningful line of defense. The timing and substance of these talks have provoked sharp backlash on the ground, where they are widely viewed as capitulation and as an effort by the Lebanese political class to do through negotiations what could not be achieved on the battlefield. That is, to forcibly strip Hezbollah of its right to resist, and thereby dismantle the country's only credible deterrent against Israeli aggression. As resistance fighters continue to confront Israeli forces in places like Bint Jbein, the contrast is stark. A government engaging in negotiations from a position of weakness, while the battlefield itself continues to impose limits on Israeli advances.
That was Rokhaya Chemseddine reporting for the Electronic Intifada from Lebanon on Wednesday. We've published many features in the last week, but we wanted to highlight women recount abuse at hands of Israeli military by Ahud Nassar, writing from Gaza. Nassar profiles 2 women, Sharifa Kudih and Saja Abdel Al, who she says reveal some of what women have endured during Israeli military incursions into Gaza's neighborhoods, a trajectory that begins but does not end with airstrikes and displacement. In a narrow corridor inside a government school that has been converted into a shelter in the city of Khan Yunis in Gaza's south, Sharifa Kudih, 50, sits on a piece of cardboard while families pass endlessly around her. Unmarried and with no children to care for, this corridor is all that remains, she said, after her home in the town of Abasan al-Kabira, east of Khan Yunis, was destroyed. In February 2024, Sharifa said around 5:30 a.m. she was asleep in her...
Like, imagine not just your home is destroyed, but your entire town. Fuck.
...home when it was bombed. I woke up to a massive explosion and then found myself under the rubble, she said. She was not badly injured.
You have no family. You have a piece of cardboard.
...but was trapped beneath the debris for nearly 2 hours before invading Israeli troops heard her and pulled her out. When they took me out, I thought I was going to die or be taken prisoner, she said. Instead, she told the Electronic Intifada, the soldiers ordered her to remove her hijab, the scarf covering her hair, and tied her hands. Then they questioned her. They asked me why I was in the house and about names of people. I didn't know any of them. Soldiers sat her on a chair on her own devastated land as they continued their operations. Sharifa said the soldiers then used her as a human shield alongside a group of young men.
Is that surprising at all?
They forced us to walk in front of them, she said. Human rights organizations have documented hundreds of cases in which the Israeli military broke international law, including using women and children as human shields. Photos were taken of Sharifa.
Yeah, and the Israeli settlers who bring their whole families, they're using their children as human shields, essentially. You are creating a militarized environment and bringing your children there? Like, every Israeli settler is a child abuser,
While
basically.
she was seated on a chair on a mound of earth with Israeli soldiers crouching behind her, apparently combat ready. She only discovered this later when an Israeli soldier received an award for the photo, which was apparently taken by drone, and said she gave no consent and was not asked for any. I was shocked when acquaintances sent me a photo of myself displayed in a gallery in Tel Aviv. I had no idea they had photographed me. After the soldiers finished with her, they let her go, a surveillance drone monitoring her from above, she said. She had to walk over rubble for more than an hour to get away from the area and to safety. Sharifa now lives in the corridor of the government school in Khan Yunis. She has neither a mattress nor a blanket. She sleeps like she sits on a piece of cardboard that was distributed as humanitarian aid. Her home was completely destroyed, and she has nowhere else to go. Those are excerpts from
Couch potato, I don't know what that emote is, but Rizzy despair. Yeah. Fucking felt. I need that. I need that emote. It's like my spirit animal, that little guy in the hoodie.
Women recount abuse at hands of Israeli military by Ahud Nassar, a journalist and teacher writing from Gaza on electronicintifada.net. And now, as we always do, we wanted to highlight people expressing joy, determination, and reclamation across Palestine and around the world.
Ooh, this is how I learned about Ahmed Mouin. Everybody go follow Ahmed Mouin. Hold up.
Captured video of a volleyball game in northern Gaza this week. Abu Samra writes, quote, "In the Jabalia refugee camp at the Abu Hussein school and on the Yellow Line, from the school's rubble, we make life. We play and dream, and we believe that hope is not defeated." And two children in Gaza, Mira and Ahed, whose parents post videos of them on social media, sang a love song to their...
Okay. Something to warm our hearts a little bit. This linked to Instagram is a link to a music teacher in northern Gaza who plays music with the children. And one of my first uploads was this. This is definitely worth checking out. So let's watch it now. In the segment where we're checking out moments of determination in Palestine, we got well, this one's better. This is the most views I've ever gotten on a video before, 11,000. He harmonizes with the drones overhead. It's crazy.
Hello everyone, how are you? I miss you a lot, really. Today there's a lot of drones. I'm gonna sing you a song today with drone. شيل شيل يا جمالي شيل يا حوطك بالله دم الشهيد معطر بالهيل.
This is him. This is Ahmed Mouin.
لا أسهر على نجوم الليل أنا ناديله. شيل شيل يا جمالي شيل يا حوطك بالله دم الشهيد معطر بالهيل يا ليل ويل ويل عالظالمين.
ليلنا ناديله شيل شيل يا زماني شيل يا حوطك بالله دم الشهيد معطر بالليل يا ليله وين وين عالظالمين وين 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 لا اصفر على نجوم الليل انا ناديله شيل شيل يا زماني شيل يا حوطك بالله دم الشهيد معطر بالليل يا ليله وين وين عالظالمين وين 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 لا اصفر على نجوم الليل انا ناديله
This tent that they're in here is made from... Mike. This tent that they're in is made from... well, the ceiling at least is made from the parachute of an aid drop. The song is always heartbreaking. Well, the fact that you even know about it is remarkable. Shit. Does that link do anything? No. Oh wait, yeah, it does. Good. Yeah, this is the official website, if you would like to contribute. Songs from the Rubble. The lyrics are, Carry, carry, O camel driver, carry, I entrust you, O God. The martyr's blood is perfumed with cardamom. Woe to the oppressor, woe, and woe from God. I will stay awake through the stars of the night, calling to him.
Sweet tea with mint.
ازاي 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 اوصف لك يا حبيبي الشاي شاي بالنعناع والسكر يا حبيبي يا شاي.
And that's it for the news roundup. As always, go to electronicintifada.net for much more, especially to read our new features by our brave writers in Gaza. You're watching the Electronic Intifada live stream. I'm Nora Barrows-Friedman with my colleague Ali Abunima. Hi, Ali.
Hi, Nora. How are you?
Hanging in. Hanging in. How are you?
Yeah, hanging in there too. We all are.
Yeah.
I'm, readjusting to being in the United States, which
Welcome
is
back,
a culture shock.
Yeah.
And I know people monitor my background, so they know I'm somewhere else.
Hey, cool Palestine emotes.
Yeah, and so it's interesting to see how the war is present, but also in the background in the United States compared with being in the region where it is dominant.
All right, it's John Elmer time. Resistance.
All right, you are watching and listening to the Electronic Intifada.
Woo!
I am John Elmer. This is the Resistance Report for day 923.
You bet your ass.
Genocide in Gaza, day 48 of the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran, and day 45 of Hezbollah's defense of South Lebanon. Let's take a look first at the Strait of Hormuz, and then we'll get to Hezbollah's combat videos shortly. Just a new view here for the Strait of Hormuz, obviously the center of the world economy.
I love this. I love it when we start breaking out maps, dude. Lay it on me.
Economy right now hanging on by a thread. The International Monetary Fund said there would be a global recession. They described it as the biggest supply disruption in world history, and we're only there's a good shot on the screen there of the area in question, and it also shows the depths of the water and just how shallow the strait is.
Dude, sit with that for a moment. Like, the greatest supply chain disruption in human history. Oh, badass, dude. If there's anything to get like the United States up in a tizzy, it's putting blocks in the supply chain of global capitalism. Fuck you.
How shallow the Gulf is, and at this
hell
point,
yeah,
the
dude.
blockade went into effect. The U.S. blockade went into effect on Sunday. ironically, just before the American blockade.
Two of them come from fellow Palestinians.
The Gulf than at any point since the war had begun, and so the U.S. blockade is attempting to snuff that out at the expense of the world's oil, gas, and then all the derivatives that come from those petroleum products that are all basically made in the Gulf that you see there: Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE. Kuwait, and of course Saudi Arabia. And the U.S. is talking about interdicting ships. That's the way that they're planning to do it. And they talked about some of that happening in Iranian waters. We'll see about that. They have not been coming anywhere near Iranian waters, partially because of something Trump admitted to the other day, that more than 110 missiles and drones were fired at the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier, which keeps it more than 1,000 kilometers from Iran in the Arabian Sea. There's a third aircraft carrier. The second aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald Ford, is in dry dock in Europe.
Oh, motherfucker, I was muted! But yeah, I love seeing all the Palestine emotes, though. I'd sub to everyone who have one if I could just use them all. Yeah, some people profit off of selling t-shirts. Free Palestine t-shirts. And, you could do that and play off the emotions of people's feelings about Palestine, or you can make emotes and people can express themselves and express their solidarity infinitely for free wherever they want. Now, I do understand that there are distributors that contribute directly to Palestine. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about American grifters who are cynically selling shovels during the emotional gold rush, of, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's an old saying that people who made the most money during the gold rush were the ones selling pans and shovels. The people making the most money out of this Palestine attention is it's just cynical, If I knew of, like, there was one distributor that I knew of on Instagram that, like, sold shirts and stuff, but I don't know, man. I fly the flag because a Palestinian can't wave a white flag without the fear of violence, let alone their own colors. So I'm using my privilege to be a voice. And, my folks were... I was really proud of my folks. I watched Tantura with them, and my mom sent me a message. They were vacationing somewhere, I don't remember. I think it was in Amsterdam, but there was a protest, or like a demonstration for Palestine, and she messaged me, and she said, "Hey, I recognized the flag because of the one that you have." And it was really cool to see all those people. Lots of people gathering for peace, and I just couldn't help but think that my mom just never would have recognized the Palestinian flag if I just didn't have this visual all the time. And then one time she asked me to take it down because she was going to have a guest, and she's like, we don't know the opinions of these people, you know, and I I just think it'd be good if you took your flag down. And I'm sorry, but Tantura if the message of Tantura had stuck with her at all, she never would have even asked me that in the first place. Because that's part of the erasure. That's awesome. Sorry I hit enter too soon. Never compromise. For anyone. Ever. Never compromise.
And the George H.W. Bush is en route. We'll get to that in a moment. But this is Iran flexing a capability that they have always had, but they have not used, to control the Strait of Hormuz, which overwhelmingly runs through Iranian waters. And as Iran has said, there are wartime conditions in that strait. Namely, the enemies that are attacking Iran are not going to be able to travel. And because of that, there's more than 3,200 ships stuck in the Gulf right now. We can look at the next slide. You can see the blockade.
Yeah, it was shitty.
The ships stacked up on either side. Those are the ships that are waiting to cross. The red ships are...
I told her... I just politely told her no. I mean, I'm not going to do that. When it's your own mother, try to be nice, but anyone else, you can just say, fuck you, you know? Just popping in for a sec to say, I love your username, hello, couch potato.
Waiting to cross.
Look at all that red. Just, I can't get over just how empty this is. Like, it should be such a busy bottleneck, but here we are. Dude, how long before Trump considers, like, why can't we just blow up this little part? Why can't we just nuke a canal? He said he wants to destroy all of Iran if they don't accept the peace agreement. Some peace agreement? Like, what the fuck? That's genocide. That's threatening genocide. Yeah, I can't imagine why the Iranians aren't on board with that.
But the ships that are just stuck in the Gulf are not lit up in this map from Maritime Tracker. As I said, 3,200 ships. That was as of March 18th, and we know that only a small trickle have gotten out since then. We hear a lot about 20% of the oil, 20% of the natural gas, but it's significant what derivatives are also go through the strait, including helium, sulfur, and those are key. The helium supply is key in medical machines and a lot of chip making. These are core.
I learned from a flat earther that that's a crazy way to start any sentence. I learned from a flat earther that NASA is one of the largest purchasers of helium, if not the largest purchaser of helium. Interesting. And what does that prove? I don't know.
Products that the world uses that are being broken in the supply chain. And also some of the largest ports, like the port in the UAE, which is the Jebel Ali port, is one of the busiest container terminals in the world. They're effectively shut down. So the blockade that Trump has put in place, the people that it stands to hurt the most are the Gulf countries, the Gulf allies of the United States, so-called allies, who have been definitely gotten short shrift in this war as allies. Of course, they've been hit pretty hard, and Iran threatens to hit their actual infrastructure if this war escalates. So that map gives you a good sense. Let's take a look at the traffic scheme, because this is the way that Iran has asserted control over the strait. So the restricted area that they have created just off the coast of Oman there, and the inbound and outbound traffic is passing through Iranian water in between Keshem Island and Larak Island. You can see there, and then outgoing traffic is on the southern side of Larak Island as well. So they have moved the shipping corridors that were through that area into Iranian waters. And you can see it's such a small amount of space, but also this map shows the depth of the water. And you can see how quickly along the shorelines, the water, it's too shallow water for major ships.
What? I was asked to leave a store a few weeks ago because my bag has a design on it. with Palestine, but the lady who was offended didn't even work there, so it was wild, but it wasn't my worst encounter with anti-Palestine bullshit. Holy shit, the audacity is astounding. Oh my god. What was your worst encounter, if you don't mind me asking? Because that sounds really fucking bad. Like, I have never encountered anything like that before. I offered free Palestine stickers to just random people, and they always took them. Usually, like, the gas station cashiers. Like, hey, you want a free Palestine sticker? They're like, yeah. Here, I got them right here. I, I meant to give one to Kat while she was here, but I think they're on the counter. But yeah, they're just when I worked at Amazon, there was like a stack of red stickers like that thick, and you pull them out, and it's a big long, just continuous strip of just red stickers about that big. They're used for marking damaged carts, I think, on the floor in an Amazon warehouse. And I just stole like 200 of them one day. And I would make like ACAB, anti-cop stuff on the stickers, but now I'd be making free Palestine shit. So yeah, I thought that was a little poetic to do it on a on Amazon paraphernalia.
This is a significant development, and it's very difficult to see what the circumstances would be for Iran to give up this asset, this capability that it has asserted over the strait after decades of sanctions have crippled growth in the country and forced it to be completely, essentially self-sufficient. But also the key ships that are getting the oil from Iran are Chinese vessels. So are the Americans planning on stopping Chinese vessels in the open water? So that's obviously a major escalation should it happen. It's very difficult to tell by the Americans what's bluster and what's not, because a lot of it is bluster. Let's take a look at the next map. You can see the overlay of the strait. There's Iranian territorial waters. You can see those two green lines there are the inbound and outbound. Previously, we're looking at a map here of the strait zoomed in with Iranian territorial waters being shown here. And Iran and Oman's territorial waters overlap, but also anywhere through that strait, you are right up against Iranian shoreline. And Trump has made a big thing about destroying the Iranian Navy because he has no concept of what the Iranian Navy actually is. Sinking 70-year-old vessels that are tied up on the docks did not destroy Iran's Navy. Iran's Navy is a fleet of thousands of fast boats that are missile.
And as the Iranians said, if our entire naval fleet is at the bottom of the ocean, why haven't the Americans just gone and taken the strait back? Oh, I don't just outwardly show I'm pro-Palestine, but I'm visibly Muslim. I've been straight up called Hamas and a terrorist, and my wrist grabbed by a stranger yelling at me, calling me a baby murderer and a devil worshipper. Oh my god. You know, when I asked that, I was like, oh, maybe that's not a good thing to ask, because that's... what could be worse? Maybe a literal assault that they had? Maybe you're asking them to recount an actual assault? Holy fuck, that is crazy. There's little things that I sit with as a white man that I am like, okay, I will never experience this probably, and the only time you'll know about it is when you're hearing about it from people who are not white or visibly Muslim or, you know, whatever. Holy fuck. Like, the only time I experienced racism was when I was in a relationship with a person of color. It's the only time. And it was as brain broken as whoever the fuck was harassing you. I've also had a bank teller fuck with my account because he didn't want to help me and tried to make it hard for me to access my banking. Jesus Christ. I've had much worse directed at my being Muslim, but as far as that, my bag alone triggers it. Yeah, it can be a bit much. Fuck. You are extremely strong to call that just a bit much. I'm glad you're here, Couch Potato. I'm glad you're here. Wrist grabbed by a stranger is crazy.
Missile-mounted fast boats that can shut down the strait in minutes with swarms on the warships. They carry anti-ship cruise and anti-ship ballistic missiles. And so that's the part of the Navy that we haven't seen. It's the part of the Navy that is underground, largely believed to be, based on Iranian television reports, believed to be embedded in the sharp mountainsides, the cliff sides along the strait. And of course, the entire Persian Gulf, the northern side of the Persian Gulf, is Iranian coastal waters and the Iranian coast. So any way of the Americans handling this, if they're going to do it with escorts, escorts are extremely cumbersome and difficult to run, and they only carry 5 or 6 ships at a time, compared to the 120 plus that normally transited through this area on any given day. And each day that the strait is like this, it's going to take more than a week to recover. And we're currently on day 48, so we're already talking about, if the war ended today, the strait opened completely, there was a full peace deal that allowed the Gulf.
Iran should be like, we'll reopen the Strait of Hormuz to allow ships in once you reopen the Rafah crossing and allow aid trucks into Palestine. It wouldn't be off-brand for Iran to make that claim and also include Lebanon. Like, no more attacks on Lebanon, and open the Rafah crossing, and we'll open the Strait of Hormuz. Minimum, that should be that should be the deal.
To function as it was, you're a year away from fixing this. So, and every day it gets worse as well along that vector. So this is really a global issue, and Iran flexing this capability, using its geography, flexing its geography, is something that we're going to be watching, and people will be watching in countries all over the world, because it's going to affect everybody, everything from fertilizer to jet fuel and everything in between. Now let's take a look at what Iran has done. On the next map, you can see this is overlaid. Sal Mercagliano overlaid this map, which I think is really helpful. This is the inset that you see there is from the IRGC Navy. They released this for.
I love this segment so much. It's literally maps on maps. Let's go. I'll be right back. I gotta get some more coffee, but I'm gonna be playing this in the background so I can hear it on the TV speakers.
Mariners to understand the traffic scheme, and you can see it pretty clearly there, going between Keshem and Larak Islands. Mines. I don't think that it has been mined, but the threat is enough to stop shipping, because the main thing that is stopping shipping is insurance. Insurance companies do not want to insure these vessels under this circumstance right now, and we've seen that in the Red Sea, where they still don't sail through the Red Sea, even 2 years removed from the Ansar Allah threat in the Red Sea. Shipping has gone around Africa since then, and so these are long-term impacts. The Americans say that there's 10,000 soldiers, 100 plus fighter jets and surveillance aircraft over the strait guiding this. Not sure that's going to help much. They say there's between 12 and 15 warships. Doesn't sound like enough for any kind of serious blockade. But this U.S. blockade is obviously illegal. You can't blockade and selectively allow ships through, and that is what the U.S. is doing. Let's look at the next map here. We can see what the U.S. has done during the ceasefire, and we can know that the Iranians are doing the same thing. This is C-17 heavy cargo plane traffic, and this is a visual representation from Sky Glass that shows the routes, and we call it figuratively an air bridge of weapons from the U.S. to the Middle East. But this map shows it as a bridge, and I think that's a useful way to see it. You can see from the continental United States into bases in Europe, particularly in the UK. You can see that sharp drop in the UK, and then into the Middle East. They're restocking their weaponry that had been depleted, and Iran is doing the same thing. We could look at the next one, is also a similar view of the same thing. This is more of a global view, and this is just the C-17s from the U.S. to the Middle East. It's not all flight. So you're just looking at cargo aircraft, the largest cargo aircraft in the world, or second largest, I guess, after the Russian one, but 520 plus individual flights. And that is the bare minimum because many don't have transponder traces for this traffic. And this is only as of earlier this week. So the US is restocking, but so is Iran. Iran uses this time to dig out missile silos that were buried. The Americans think that when they bury a missile silo that it's gone, but it's not, because there's a blast door at the end of the silo. You simply open the blast door, you dig out the launch silo, and you continue to feed those various silos through railway tracks underneath the ground, and those are completely unimpacted. So the time is used by both militaries to prepare for the next stage of the battle. If we look at number 8 here, you can see the USS Bush sailing. You can see it down at the bottom of Africa there, going around the Cape of Good Hope. There was a lot of talk about that this was happening because the Bush might be afraid to travel through the Red Sea, which is possible, although the Ford traveled through the Suez and into the Red Sea before it had its laundry fire in the Red Sea. But I think the simple explanation is that when those ships are in the Suez Canal, they're completely trapped in the canal. They can be attacked. Their GPS transponders are on. They're completely trackable. Whereas when they're going oversea, they're less so. They can also train when they're on their way over to deploy. But still gives you a sense that they're more willing to spend 3.
It's so crazy that these aircraft carriers have been having issues with like their toilets and then like laundry fires. How much of this is sabotage by soldiers who have a conscience? We may never know.
Extra days to get to the theater by traveling all the way around Africa, which is what ships are doing now that previously used to travel through the Suez and through the Red Sea. And you can see that happening already with tanker traffic. Tanker traffic is moving to the US to fill up with US crude at this point right now. So there's some belief that there's some benefit to the U.S. to this blockade, but it's not true. It's not going to be at all true, and it's going to impact households all across the world, what we're dealing with right now and going forward. So the U.S. blockade adds stupidity onto an already idiotic war that they have launched against Iran. Let's look at the next slide here. You can see, I wanted to show you this. These are this is also bare minimum because we know that CENTCOM has been lying every single day of this war.
U.S. aircraft lost during Epic Fury combat operations as of April 10th? Like, this isn't even updated. Ooh. Yellow is damaged, and red is destroyed. Holy shit.
And hiding its casualties.
Status unconfirmed.
Hiding its physical casualties and hiding its hardware casualties as well. But you can see this from the war zone. They put together this graphic of acknowledged lost aircraft assets, dozens of Reaper drones. I think that's, again, a light number, but still we're talking about $30 million drones times dozens lost. You can see the 4 F-15E Strike Eagles. 3 of them were shot down in Kuwait by friendly fire, and the one that was shot down by Iranian air defenses a couple weeks back. The AWACS, the Advanced Early Warning and Command Aircraft.
I mean, I knew it was going to be a shit show, but I didn't think it'd be this fucking this bad.
The E-3G Sentries, and that second one, it says it's damaged. We know that that one is damaged. So one was completely destroyed, and at least one more damaged on the runway. And then on the right-hand side, that's from the so-called rescue operation, where they lost 2 cargo planes. They were HC-130 cargo planes. They lost a pair of those. They lost 4 of their little birds, and they lost an A-10 Warthog that crash landed in Kuwait. And they also lost 2 combat search and rescue versions of Black Hawk attack helicopters. And that Chinook that you see there, I showed you on last week's show. Just wanted to keep the tally up about lost aircraft. We look at the next slide here, 9B. They also lost.
You know, they don't always say this, but Chinook, like, it's so insane how the United States names their weapons of murder after the Native Americans that were genocided. It's like it's hard to describe. It's It's like if Israel had a weapon called the like Hamas 1000 or something. It's crazy. Absolutely disgusting.
The Navy's MQ-4 Triton, which is a $240 million sea surveillance drone, and one of only 20 that they have. This went down on April the 9th.
$250 million for a reconnaissance drone is fucking crazy, bro.
Crashed. Its transponder.
Look at that thing. It's massive.
Disappeared over the strait, just outside of the strait in the Gulf of Oman. But another significant loss for the U.S. Let's look at the next slide, because the KC-135s were also on that. These are the strategic air refueling planes, and you can see this one pockmarked like it got hit by a shotgun.
Yeah, it's like speckled.
A ballistic missile, presumably, and that shrapnel hitting it from when it was on the runway. This is one of 10 that were lost, and this is we can go to the next one because you can see it again on these. These are taken by aviation photographers that are in the UK, that the hobbyists that are showing this. These shots are by Andrew McKelvey, who is an aviation photographer, and he got these shots. These were the planes that were hit on the runway at the Prince Sultan Air Base. So you can see they had to patch it up, and these are the ones that are flying. So we can count probably how many don't arrive back that were destroyed. Again, we're going completely off CENTCOM. All the damage on U.S. bases has all been kept secret, but that will all come out. It's impossible to keep that secret. With the number of soldiers that are deployed, it's just I don't believe that they're going to be able to hide these losses permanently, but we will follow it. So that is the situation in the Strait. Let's move to Lebanon, where we are covering Israel's invasion of South Lebanon. Again, you're watching and listening to the Electronic Intifada. I am John Elmer, and this is the Resistance Report.
This is going to be far less justice to report on here.
Lebanon version here. Let's take a look at the map. We have currently six Israeli military divisions participating in this war. That would match the invasion of Gaza. But as I've been saying on this show for years now, the complement of a full division is not happening in the Israeli military because of the reservists who don't report back. The numbers are not full complements, so they're not the same number of troops that were in Gaza, but it is 6 divisions, and 6 divisions fighting for 48 days in Lebanon have not been able to move more than a few kilometers. The main battle right now that is happening in apparently there's a ceasefire just before we went on air. I believe it when I see it, but Vintage Vale in the south and the central there, you can see that is a long symbolic heart of resistance after the Israelis were driven out of South Lebanon and literally ran away down the hill in the year 2000. And Nasrallah gave a speech in the stadium in Vintage Vale, and he called the Israelis a spider web, and that has been stuck in the Israelis' craw for a generation, and they wanted to go back in and take Vintage Vale. They have been unable to do that at this point. Fierce resistance, casualties on the Israeli side. Again, sketchy casualty reporting from the Israelis, but dozens are wounded a day in these battles, face-to-face battles. These battles, they take time because of operational security in order to get the videos out. So we haven't seen videos from the battle in Vintage Vale yet, but we will as the operational security allows for it. Again, Israel's carrying out heinous massacres in Lebanon, targeting civilians. Nora talked about it. And Ruqayya Shamsuddin talked about it on our earlier report at the beginning about the massacre on Black Wednesday, when more than 300 people were killed in, according to the Israeli Air Force, a 60-second window of time. They're killing paramedics at a prodigious rate, like they did in Gaza, and not just paramedics from one particular agency being targeted, but all the different paramedics agencies, including the Red Cross, are being targeted. Last night, there was a quadruple tap massacre of 3 sets of paramedics going to another massacre.
A quadruple tap? What the I've never heard that before.
More than 90 paramedics have been killed. So even with the assistance of 5 forward bases that Israel established inside Lebanon and 6 divisions all on the ground fighting, there is no sign that the Israelis are advancing beyond even the first few kilometers from those points. And you can see where
a quadruple tap in Lebanon, and Democracy Now! Wants to talk about bro. A rise in anti-Semitism. Sure, bro. Let's close with I don't know. I'm just happy everyone's here. It's been real. Let's see if I can raid someone with who I got left. Oh. Catacalypse. Eight viewers are ready to raid Catacalypse. She's just playing Animal Crossing. I play Stardew Valley with her right now.
And they're annoying and I don't like them. This is... Oh shit. No! Crawling into the strange garden with 18 lost creatures. Joel, goddamn, look at you fucking go, bro. 18? Hell yeah. How you guys doing? How was stream? I hate this bear. She is annoying. She stands around making high-pitched noises, and I'll fight her, man. I'll literally fight her one day. And she decorates like a toddler. Woo! Hell yeah! How was stream? You did news, I believe? Stream was good?
Yep.
I also went
On
back
our
to
newsboy
delete. I
shit.
have personal beef with her. We don't relate. We're Torying my personal save. I don't even know this one's name. Plucky.
I love the characters in this game. They're so funny. Alright.
Good. Any news to report on? Can I ask what you're doing? What you doing? Let me learn something.
News was...
Definitely. Let's make an Apple wall. Like an Apple Watch, but it's just a wall.